Oh, yeah, we come before you right now in the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach. Just thank you right now, Father Yah, that we acknowledge that this is a day that you have made, Father Yah, and we should continue to rejoice and be glad in it. We ask right now you forgive all the sins that we know of, Father Yah, all the sins that we may know not of. Father Yah, we just thank right now you make all our crooked ways straight, Father Yah. Father Yah, we thank right now we lean not into our own understanding, Father Yah, but in all our ways that we acknowledge you that you may direct our path. We just thank you right now as you just be with us throughout the rest of this day and let your will be done in our life. In the name of your son, Yahushua Mashiach, we pray. So be it. Right, y'all. Today we're going to be dealing with hindering Ruachs. Some people refer to it as spirits, but we're going to be dealing with it in the realm of a supernatural form and also in the natural also. And these hindering Ruachs come to stop your mission. They come to hinder or either slow down the progress in which Yah have you going. They try to take you off the course in which Yah have you on. And most of the time you'll notice these hindering Ruachs when it's through people, when they're actually acting like an imposter, acting like they're posing like a friend, but technically they're a foe. And so you'll see them actually coming to act like they're trying to help, but most of the time they've been sent as an agent of the enemy to monitor you. And so we're gonna get into the word, going to Galatians chapter 5, we're gonna look at 7 through 9, and it's gonna start talking about you ran well, but who did hinder you?
That's Galatians chapter 5.
We're gonna do 7, do 7 and 8 first.
It's gonna be verses 7. Ye did run well. Who did hinder you that you should not obey the truth? This persuasion comes not of him that calls you.
Okay, so it say you did run well, but who did hinder you that you should not obey the truth? This persuasion comes not of him that called you. So this is coming from somebody else. It's like you were on the right track, and all of a sudden you allow somebody to get you off of that right track and get you on the wrong track. We have some people that are sent by the enemy that are enablers, like they'll actually provide something that you don't need, that'll actually hinder you, be it a substance or be it some form of, any type of entertainment that's negative, just to throw you off the course. And so we have to look at this. When I was looking at this, I went to looking and saying to myself, we have to stop, telling all our business to everybody. Like some stuff you got to be able to keep a secret. We're in a day and time where now most people can't even hold a secret. And most people can't even, they don't even know how to hold a secret. Now let's don't just go telling everybody. You can't pour out your heart desires to anybody. You remember the Samson and Delilah story we talked about? She was sent as an agent. She was sent to actually find out what was his weaknesses. And that's when I say, when you deal with a friend versus a foe, when you say who did hinder you or what hindered you, dealing with the physical realm where the individual that's hindering you, they're coming to gather information from, whatever source they can, just to be able to get something on you, so that once you fall, they can actually point the finger back at you and say, see, I knew it was going to happen. I knew you wasn't all what you was cut out to be. And that's the whole goal. These individuals are basically called monitoring spirits. These spirits are there sent by the enemy just to monitor your progress. They're not really trying to be a part of what you're doing, but they want to hang around just in case something happens that they can actually try to hinder. If they see, you don't even have to be all so much as about doing the work of Yah. It's any type of progress you're trying to do. You can be trying to accomplish something simple in life, and the individual is hanging around just to be able to try to hinder your progress. And most of the time, these individuals are not aware sometimes that this is what they're there for. So it's up to you to be able to discern and figure out what are these individuals here for? Like, why did they come? What was the purpose of them coming around to actually hang around in your life and try to gather this information? They start asking questions like, what is your weakness? What is it that that you don't like? What is it that hinders you? They'll start trying to figure out stuff, acting as if they're trying to pray for you. But most of the time, they're not trying to pray for you. They're trying to actually pull against whatever it is that you're trying to do. And if we have these individuals that do this, will spend more time trying to get to their next destination, they won't be spending energy trying to pull against what you're doing. They'll be trying to focus on what they're supposed to be doing. They're spending all this extra energy because most of these individuals don't have a purpose. They lack confidence. So they actually sit back and glean off someone else's progress so they can say, what can I do to put a stumbling block in the way of this person? This is their mission. Their mission is just to try to cause you to fall. And you don't realize, we can look at this in all type of areas. Like, soon as you get on track, like somebody may be watching this video later that may have like a old boyfriend or old girlfriend that pops up once they're trying to get on track. and seem like the progress is starting to roll and out comes this individual. They didn't just show up for nothing. They were sent by house of time. They were sent to hinder your progress. They were sent to get you to fall. That's why I say you ran well. Who did hinder you? It's it. And so to say this persuasion didn't come from what you would learn, what you were taught. This persuasion came from an individual that was sent as an agent. And the problem we need to realize is that most of us try to put Hasatan on the same level as Yah and try to seem like, it's like religion has made us think that everything that happens wrong is the devil, it's the enemy. Everything that happens wrong is not the enemy. He's not omnipresent. He's finite. He was created. He was a created being. And this is the thing. So when you look at Yah, he's everywhere at one time. It's like the psalmist said, if I go to the uttermost parts of the earth, there you are also. You know what I'm saying? If I put my bed in Sheol, you're there also. It's like, so Yah is everywhere, but the enemy is not everywhere. When he took, Yahushua Mashiach on the mount to actually try to tempt him, he actually left for a season. He's not everywhere. He has agents, and these agents are there to do a task. This is why the agents, don't want to actually fail when it comes to the task that they're doing. When the actual guy that had the legions, he said, bid us that we may go into the swine. They didn't want to just not do anything. They have to actually embody something. This is on the Ruach end of it, the spiritual end of it. But when people are coming out to actually try to stop you, their whole mission is that they get a thrive off of the fact that, or a thrill off of the fact that you did not succeed in an area that they didn't think that you should be succeeding in. And this is when the individuals come in to be a hindering Ruach unto you. And you have to make sure that when you're dealing with individuals that you're not just, not having yourself in a position where you can't discern, I want to say good from evil. Hebrews talk about, that strong meat is for those that have their senses already set up where they can actually discern good from evil. That way they know how to actually say, okay, whether this is something like of an evil presence or this is something like the presence of Yah. It's like we have to be able to do that because in church setting, we've been set up where most of the time we figure out everything that's spiritual is good. Everything that's not spiritual is good. There's certain things that are spiritual that are carnal. And these things are not of Yah. These things are just sensual. These things are sent to actually get you into a certain mood, but at the same time, they're not actually sent to push you further in the things of Yah. It's kind of like you're on the hamster wheel where you're just turning with your emotions. You're going, you're getting excited, crying, but nothing has happened. Well, nothing has happened because you're not set up to realize that this isn't the will of Yah. You're just sitting in a position where you're actually being hindered. And when you're being hindered, you have to be careful because it'll actually get you to a point where you'll begin to let these other Ruachs come in, and we're going to talk about Ruachs of depression, Ruachs of stress, all kind of things try to come in to try to take over your mind because you're already in a position where you're not learning whether or not this is good or whether this is evil. Like we have to get past allowing everybody to come into our life. Like some people, you don't submit your prayer request to, you don't just tell them what's wrong or pray with me. You have to have certain people that you know that the Most High have in your life that's not going to turn against you when you do something, like a real friend or somebody that's sent by Yah, a messenger that's sent by Yah. They're not going to actually expose your weaknesses. That person that tries to expose the weakness of you is sent by Hasatan. Even if they're throwing it in your face, that's sent by Hasatan. They say, look, see, I told you, that's like a dart coming against you. It's like that's actually trying to tear down your Ruach, the wall of your Ruach that's trying to tear down the shield that you have that's upon you. It's like a fiery dart. When they say, see, I knew you was going to do that. It's like they're jigging at you. They're trying to get to your flesh so they can get you to act out. That's why they can do that, because these individuals are not for you when they say that. Even if they'll be for you later, we have to realize that it's time out for giving people passes into our life that's going to cause us to stumble. That's the thing. It's more important that you stand than you fall. And so if something is causing you to fall, then this is something that the Most High don't want you to be involved in. This is an individual that the Most High don't want you to be involved in, because no one should be in your life that's causing you to fall on a regular basis. And you shouldn't be entertaining anything that's causing you to fall. You shouldn't be taking anything or partaking of anything that's causing you to fall. And that's why the question says, you ran well. What hindered you that you shouldn't keep going on the path that the Most High had you going on? What put you on another path? What made you think that it was something new? That's why I had to critique, even coming into this walk, that, a lot of things that I learned in other settings just have to be put in its proper place. That's the thing. We just have to do it the right way. Like we still have to pray. We still have to pray, but we don't need to operate in, I would say, the Kundalini spirit or some type of charismatic way that's like superficial. We just need to be realistic with what we're doing. It's okay to praise Yah. This is the thing. Like when you come over to this walk, it's like because you've been so, I would say, upset that you've been lied to. Sometimes you throw away everything. And when you throw away everything, that's another hindrance right there. Throwing away everything. You threw away the idea that you should still be praising, you should still be fasting, you should still be discerning and walking in the Ruach HaKodesh. And that's the thing, you threw away the fact that Yahushua HaMashiach is the one that did it and not you. Coming into this walk sometimes and have individuals operating in a sense of pride that'll put them in a position where they're self-righteous. And that turns into a religious Ruach, a religious spirit. And when you operate in a spirit like that, a Ruach like that, what happens is you begin to not give any glory or credit unto Yahushua HaMashiach. It's like you think you can do it on your own. Do I wear my fringes and do I like to dress the part? I don't think that can save me, not one bit. I think that I'll go to hell with disown just because of the fact that I've turned my back against Yah. It's just something I do based on my culture. But at the same time, we have to realize that how are we actually saved and how are we born again? It's like we can't throw away the process because of what happened basically with the Roman Catholic and everything, because they took all this from us. And what they did was kind of remixed it and put it in a way where everything looks like it's okay. Like, you know, if you really go deep into the Roman Catholic research, a lot of it's a bunch of rituals. It almost turns into like the Masonics, how they do stuff, you know, in the lodge. It's like everything is set up where you have to do some form of exorcism in the end of it. There's no exorcism, anything involved in this. We don't exercise demonic activity, we cast them out. We speak against them with the word and they go. And so we have to make sure that we're in a position that we're actually walking, you know, with someone, because the word say, can two walk together unless they agree? So if you're walking with somebody and it's different from witnessing to somebody and walking with somebody. This is the thing. So we have to, don't mix up the two. Don't think that it's like this situation where just because, you know, you ran into this individual that you're supposed to be able to expose everything that you got going on to them. You helping somebody and seeing where they're going to stand, that don't mean that's the person that you tell to pray for you or the person that's supposed to know all your business and stuff. We have to make sure we don't operate like that. We can't be so gullible till once we run into somebody, we open up everything we got going on to them. You have to make sure that you be patient with how you deal with individuals and begin to discern what's the mission of them, like what's their goals, like what is the long and short-term goal of them, like why are they there? Are they there in your life for a season? Or are they there just for you to actually, you know, keep them so you can see them further on into their journey? Most of the time, people are not there for the further journey. They're there for the season. We try to make everybody the further journey type individual. We try to make everybody the lifetime long life friend. And that's not what the Most High is saying do in every case. Because if that's the case, everybody you run into, you have to totally connect and stay with them. But we have to realize that a person's personality doesn't mean that this individual is sent to stay with you for the long haul. We have to be able to discern what is the mission. That's when we get self out the way. Just because we like something or because we like an individual doesn't mean that Yah said that they approve. It don't mean that they're evil. It just means they can be a hindrance to you. And when you start working on self-awareness and start working on what's hindering you and what it is that's for you, then you'll realize that it's not wrong, you know, to say no sometimes. It's not wrong to disassociate yourself from certain ones sometimes. Sometimes it's for a season, but don't be, you know, a fool. It's not always a season. Sometimes it's for good. You know, just, you know, we have to be really, you know, ready to face that. If the Most High is saying it's for good, you know, do we do this based on, you know, letting go of our flesh, or we really like them, you know, we think they're good people, but the Most High doesn't operate on good people. He operates on whether or not you're working and operating in the will of him. And if you're not operating in the will of him, whether you're good or not doesn't mean anything. What happens is the individual wind up letting whatever ways they have, you know, rub off on you. You allow that to rub off on you, and you begin to be in a position where you say, okay, well, since they actually a hava, you say love Yah, and they're doing something concerning Yah, well, just let them come on in and just tell them everything. Can't do that. You have to be able to discern. That's why we went over to the gift of discernment, whether this individual is for Yah or whether they're for their self. Sometimes people be for you and they're not even for Yah. That's a bad thing, because if they for you and they're not for Yah, that's going to hurt them. You got to be able to know that. And that's where ministers mess up at. They're letting people put them on a pedestal and letting people begin to praise them. And the people are just for the minister. They're not for Yah. They're actually there for the actual service. They're not for Yah. And when these people like that, they're dangerous, because when something needs to happen to help you get on track or to help you see something that went wrong, well, they're not going to say nothing against it because they're sold out for you. That's why Paul said, follow me as I follow Yahushua Mashiach. He was letting them know, me and Apollos, we didn't die for you. And that's another hindrance I'm pointing out in this message. I'm saying the ministers, mores, different ones that we have, we're setting up teachers, and we're actually setting them up on a pedestal, and we're looking past the situation that y'all got them sent to minister unto us, and we're not sent there just to listen at what they say when they venture off from the word. When they start doing things that are contrary to the word and start operating in sin, we're not supposed to back them up. At that point, we're supposed to let them know, and if it's an elder, you go do like the word say, bring 2 or more and go the right way. Do it like it's supposed to be done. If it's somebody else, you take them before the call out assembly. You do what you got to do to get the situation straight. And if it seems like you're not getting straight, at that point, then you know that it has to be some separation going. It has to be some form of, where you have to just dissociate yourself from the individual. Let's go to Galatians chapter, 9 and 10. Yeah.
Galatians 5 and 9. A little leaven leavens the whole lump. I have confidence in you through Yahuwah, that ye will be none otherwise minded. But he that troubles you shall bear his judgment, whosoever he be. So
basically, he that troubles you is going to bear the judgment. This is what I want to get at when we look at this here. We're going to talk about a little bit about Nehemiah. Nehemiah chapter 1, word they got back to Nehemiah that the walls had been burnt down and the sheep gates were tore down. And Nehemiah began to be saddened because those Jews that were actually, were stuck in Jerusalem that didn't go into captivity actually were being oppressed at that time. And since they were being oppressed, Nehemiah began to consult Yah. He began to fast and began to, pray and began to just entreat Yah concerning this matter that he can get the king's heart touched. And of course, this is a familiar king. The king's name is Artaxerxes, if I want to say that in the way that the King James Version pronounces it. And this king was the one who Nehemiah served. Nehemiah was the actual cupbearer of the king. And Nehemiah that day say the wine was set before the king, and he came before the king, and the scripture has in notes to say the queen sitting right there by him, and Nehemiah begins to come to the king, and the king say, what's wrong, Nehemiah? Saying you're of a sad conscience, you're not sick. And back then it wasn't, normal to go in before the king's presence with a sad conscience, unless something was going on that that you sick, like you say, and the king say you're not sick. And so Nehemiah was saying, no, most noble king, I'm not sick, but what's going on? I need to have permission to go back to Jerusalem to build this wall. He said, because my brethren lay there, they're being oppressed, and I need to go back to my father's house to build a wall so we can actually get, set up again. We can be fortified once again. At this particular time, Nehemiah goes to the king. He said, also, king, I need a letter so that you can send to the governor of your forest so I can have timber to build the sheep gates. And so the king granted all this to Nehemiah. But what I'm trying to get at is, as we get to the point of all this being granted to Nehemiah, we just talked about Hindering Ruach, where there's 2 haters. And one of them is, I think, Sanballat in the King James Version. We'll read it in our version where it talks about 2 haters that are there. Go down to Nehemiah 2 about the 10th verse. Is going to talk about 2 haters that are there. And these haters are only there because they heard Nehemiah was coming back to rebuild the wall. They're sent there to do what hindering spirits do and hindering people to stop the progress. They sent there because now they're pissed off that he's going to try to rebuild this wall, because first of all, they've heard all the fame and how it went abroad, how Yahuwah used to actually fight their battles and stuff. So as we get further into this, we'll realize how Sanballat and his actually confidant he got there, the one that he got next to him, he's sitting there pissed off because of the fact that they're coming back. They haven't even started anything yet. It's like some people get mad for the very simple fact that you're finna try to do something. It's like just like they be like, I dare you try to do that, or either before me, or I can't do it, and you gonna do it. It's like, so in this position, they're not looking at the fact that they want to do it. They're just mad because they don't want to see Israel and Jerusalem be back fortified again. They don't want to see this because at this point, Nehemiah is in captivity, but he has favor. Like the words say, the king's heart is in Yah's hand. He turn it like the rivers of water, whichever way he will. So Nehemiah has favor. So the king is sending Nehemiah back with a letter. And so this letter gives him active permission to go back, not only build a wall, but to request timber for the sheep gate. So let's look at Nehemiah 2 and 10.
Nehemiah chapter 2.
Yeah.
Verse 10. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah, the servant, the Ammonite, heard of it, it grieved them exceedingly that there was come a man to seek the welfare of the children of Yashrael.
See that? It grieved him. He came to seek the welfare of them. You go back to chapter 1, it said that they were being oppressed. And the word got back to Nehemiah, and he had an actual compassion concern because this is his people, this is family. And it grieved them. The very fact that he's coming back to look at, to actually see about the welfare, to help them, it grieved them. Like, and this is what I'm trying to say, we have to look at when you have somebody even around. This is the thing that's not supposed to be around, because you'll realize later that they're not supposed to be around. They're just coming around to actually be nosy. They're not even supposed to be a part of what's going on, but they're there to stop the progress or to mark the progress. We'll look at it if we go further, go into 2 and go about the 20.
That's Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 20. Then answered I them and said unto them, the Elohim of heaven, he will prosper us. Therefore we his servants will arise and build. But ye have no portion, nor right, no memorial in Yerushalayim. You say you ain't got nothing to do with this. That's what you tell me. Say you don't have anything to do with this. The Most High is going to bless us to do the job, and you have nothing to do with it. And this is the thing. Sometimes we have to get to the point where when we know somebody don't have anything to do with what we got going on, you have to just let them know, look, you don't have anything to do with this. And this is paraphrasing it to say, not looking at the fact that, just because he's trying to build a wall, but anything that's going on in your life, if they're not supposed to have nothing to do with it and they're saying something against it, you have to straight up say, look, even though I know you and we okay, this is something that I got to do concerning the Most High. This isn't your business. This is what I was saying. Like, you have to get to a point where you're bold enough to stand against anything that's trying to come against your progress with Yah. See, was he going to let this hinder him? Like the scriptures say, you ran well, but what did hinder you? That you should not keep going and stay on the path that you've been going on. Well, Nehemiah is not being hindered. He checks him. He lets him know, he say, look, you don't have nothing to do with this matter. We're going to keep doing this, and the Most High is going to give us the actual ability to do this, to continue to build this wall in the sheep gate. Go to chapter 4 of Nehemiah, the same one, the first verse. We just skipping through it, getting to the key points, because I kind of read all this, and it was like really sticking how haters will be around when you're trying to make progress. And the haters are just standing there on the sideline. They're not going to help, but they're there just to see whether you're going to accomplish it or not. So they can say, look, I know you couldn't do it. And see, this is the thing. In Nehemiah's case, it was on the forefront. He couldn't hide it because it's a big wall that's being built. It's like this wall is about, looking into research, it's about 8 foot wide and about 37.5 foot tall. This is a tall wall that they're building. And so let's look at that there for So Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 1 reads, but it came to pass that when Sanballat heard that we built the wall, he was wroth and took great indignation and mocked the Yahudim. Got mad. So when they accomplished it, he got mad. A hater. This is what I'm saying. Haters are hindrance. Haters will hinder your progress, basically. Even if you don't know they're a hater, they'll hinder your progress because they say once they got to the point to do it, they got mad. They were pissed off at the point that because of the fact that he was able to do this, he let them know this wasn't happening my own ability. The Most High has given us the ability to do this. Even knowing that, they were still pissed off. And they couldn't handle the fact that he was actually able to do this without their help. So what they have to do is, while you're doing what you're doing, look at this in an actual physical form. In the form of the Ruach also, it's like, you have to look at this like this and say, okay, look, I'm doing something, but I have to also watch and pray. You have to pray against all these fiery darts that's coming your way because people are pulling against you in the progress of you trying to do what you're supposed to do. So let's look at 17 of that same chapter, 4 and 17. Nehemiah chapter 4, verse 17 reads, they which built on the wall, and they that bore burdens with those that laid it, everyone with one of his hands wrought in the work, and with the other hand held the weapon. So basically, this is what's going on. So in one hand, they're working, in the other hand, they got their weapon. So in one hand, you're doing the progress what the Most High wants you to do. On the other hand, you stand with your antennas up, and you're praying against all these fiery darts that those are throwing at you because you done told them something you shouldn't have told them. In this case here, it was open for him. He couldn't hide it because it's a big wall. But some things we don't have to tell the individual, and they'll be trying to pull against the progress of it. And you thinking in this normal
in your little mind thinking, okay, yeah, well, this ain't no thing. Can't nobody stop what y'all got for me is for me. That has nothing to do with people pulling against what you're trying to do. You have all kind of demonic activity going on out here, and it's like we have to wake up and stop being sheep and sleep into a position where we're actually lay and pray for anything that comes to try to devour us. We can't just sit there, in a position where we allow them to come against us just because we've told them something that we shouldn't have told them. Some battles you can avoid by just not saying it. Like, what are you telling them this for? Like, who is this person? Like, some stuff is not even meant to tell close people sometime until the appointed time. Not let somebody that you don't even, that you're not even like that with. It's like you got to be able to hold some type of confidentiality. It's like we're in a position where most people just can't hold anything. One of my slogans, they can't even hold water. It's like anything you tell them before it gets back, they already told it already. You can't be like that. You have to be able to have something that you can keep confidential. And this is what the Most High operates with. He operates with people that can actually keep the business confidential. Sometimes when you can't keep business confidential, you bring harm to yourself. You bring harm to your family because the situation that you're in was not time to be told to nobody yet. But you told it because you just couldn't hold it. And what was it for? You was excited? It's like, I understand that you're excited, but sometimes excitement will get you in trouble. You have to be able to have self-control and say, look, now I got to keep this matter silent until the appointed time. And when you expose the matter early, what happens is you wind up getting yourself into a battle that you could avoid. Like, and when you do it the way the Most High wants you to do it, most of the time, by the time a hater notices the progress, you're already on you 99% there most of the time. But you tell them at zero, you tell them the dream. We got dream killers out here. What are you telling them the dream for? The dream had come to pass. You tell somebody the actual dream? Like, let something be put in progress first before you tell them something. It's like you done told the person before you went even registered for this particular class you're trying to go into adventure yourself. And it's like, you can sit there and told them that, and they start talking against, they start telling you all the ways why it didn't work for them. All the reasons why it didn't work for them. So, I tried that before, and I don't think that's a hater right there. When someone goes into that kind of conversation, that's the first telltale sign of a hater. I tried that before, and I don't think that's going to work. Now, I understand if somebody just telling you how the process went, but this is the thing. Even when they don't mean any harm, sometimes it's not time to tell them. Why are you telling? Because remember, I'm going to give you an example of how House of Time works. Remember, the Most High, he's omnipresent. He's everywhere. House of Time is finite. He have to have agents. He have messengers. The Most High use angels. And Satan, he's an angel, and he used angels that are demons. This is what he's using. And the way that they work just like the computer. They gather data against you. It's kind of like the cookies and stuff like that. They're on a computer, and it's analytics, Google Analytics. They try to figure out what you like and try to figure out what is it that actually tempts you. That's what he is. He's there as the accuser of the brethren. And once he gets you into that position, then he goes back and accuses you to Yah. That's the thing. So it's like he made you fall and then also went to accuse you unto Yah for fall. It's like, so he's creating a scenario and then also going back to tell on you at the same time. And so the way you have to avoid this stuff is you have to make sure that you're in position with Yah to where you actually know how to move and have your senses, where you can discern good from evil. I think that's Hebrews around about 1:14, which talks about having your senses where you can discern good from evil. And if you're in that position there, then you don't have to fall prey to most of the individuals that's trying to take you off the course, because this is where it goes. It's like, it's not just people. It's like you got Ruachs out here too, and they're moving through people, and they're just out here too. That's why you have to realize you got to realize how to actually discern the presence of a place. You have to know, you have to get to a point where you can discern the presence of evil. And you have to know this difference between the presence of evil and just a place that seems to be spiritual. And that's what we have to look at. So when you're dealing with the spirit realm, the realm of the Ruach, it's not all about things of Yah. We have to look at this and say, behold, how marvelous, how House of Time keeps transforming himself into an angel of light and his ministers into ministers of righteousness. This is what it is, and this is what he can do. He can transform, and he's actually sitting there as an imposter. He's there as an individual, as a copycat. That's what he is, a carbon copy, but he's not the real thing. And he comes to actually make people think he's doing all this stuff because he's putting these thoughts in your head that you're supposed to cast down. And you're not casting the thoughts down, you're running with these thoughts. All thoughts are not from Yah. And all thoughts is not evil to have a thought, but it's evil to act upon the thought. The mind is an open battlefield. That's the reason why you have to meditate on the word night and day. Meditate on the word, meditate on the things of Yah. That's why you don't just openly meditate for stuff. when you're openly meditating for stuff and just sitting there in meditation form, like it teach you in yoga, what you're doing is opening up yourself for everything to come in. Even though even though what you're trying to get accomplished comes in, this is why we see people that get these things accomplished venture away from Yah, because other things came in. This is the thing. So we say, well, what caused this person? And look at the individual. Once they get into this earth stuff and they take it too far with the herbalist stuff and get into trying to do things with it and all that, and get into, so super religious, super spiritual, and to the point where it's like seem like they're floating on cloud nine. Well, at that point, they start turning away from Yah because the credit is to them, because they're trying to do this stuff on their own. They're sitting there searching and seeking for this stuff and sitting there trying to grab it in the Ruach, grab it in the spirit realm and all this stuff. It turns into witchcraft. And we'll get into that being one of the things that hinder you. One of them I would say would be procrastination. The Ruach of procrastination hinders you. It actually hinders you from the progress of Yah because you keep putting things off that should be done right away. That's one way to describe procrastination. And you look at a negative individual that's in your life and also negative thinking. It actually causes you to be hindered because it actually puts you in a position where you're seeing everything in its worst form. Like I say, I look at the glass being half full than the glass being half empty. And then you can look at it both ways, but the way you perceive it is the way that it's going to be. And, the depression, that's another one that causes you to actually be hindered. You know what I'm saying? The Ruach of depression, it causes you to be hindered because of the fact that it brings in a low state of being. It brings in a heaviness. It brings in a weight. It begins to weigh you down and push you down to a point where you feel like you can't accomplish anything. And depression, I would say, is one of the ruler things that actually begin to actually cause you to be hindered. And I would also go into saying obesity, you know what I'm saying, and actually gluttony, what I would say basically, because what leads to obesity, you know what I'm saying, just sitting there, just being a blob, just sitting there, just devouring everything, just no self-control. It actually puts you in a position where it causes you to be hindered because with no self-control, you're supposed to be waiting. You're supposed to not be telling something. You're not supposed to be revealing certain things that the Most High told you, because it's not, when you go doing it and telling it anyway, it's showing the Most High that you're not worthy to actually be a worker of him, because sometimes people will come to you in confidentiality and tell you certain things and you'll go back and tell that, and that's not how you're supposed to be operating. And so it causes you to be hindered because it puts you in a position where you're not on the front line. You're just doing your own thing. The Most High is not going to put you out there as an agent for him and a worker for him because you're allowing yourself to be hindered in small things. You can't even hold the small matters. So it's like we have to make sure that we're in a position where we're not allowing individuals to hinder us. And once again, I was talking about how he doesn't actually be everywhere at one time. He has to operate through the agents of whether it be through Ruachs or whether it be through people. And he was a created being. He was not always here. And this is the thing. So he fell from glory and fell into this state. And it say he roamed around to and fro, trying to see whom he may devour. That's his mission. His mission is to try to get you in a position where it can make you fall and make you begin to get away from the things of Yah. He won't even attack you if you're not doing what Yah wants you to do sometime. And you'll begin to blame this stuff on the enemy. This stuff that you done got into, regular confrontations. It's like the enemy's not everywhere at one time. He's not omnipresent. Yah is omnipotent. You know what I'm saying? He is not. And this is what we have to look at. And so when you're actually thinking that, the devil made me do it. The devil ain't made you do it. The flesh made you do it. The credit that we give him is just, it's off the chart. We don't have to give him the credit that we give him because he's not everywhere at one time. He have to operate through the agents. Like I say, through cookies, you know what I'm saying? Like they do on the computer, through Google Analytics, through the way it gathers all this information. When you click on something, then here it pops up a pizza. You just looking at Pizza Hut, Domino's, everybody stuff popping up now. Like they said, man, I typed in pizza, now all this stuff is flipped my computer, same thing. Just like you begin to get in a position where something you shouldn't be doing, well, the enemy is going to bring it all to you. It's like if you said you weren't going to be involved in it, he's going to bring people around that's going to reintroduce you to stuff that you said you couldn't do, coming from the north, south, east, and west. You're going to say, man, what's all going on? These people are coming at that point to try to convince you, and you have some of them that'll bring whatever it is that you shouldn't have and enable you. And this is what we have to look at. You have to make sure that you're aware of who it is that you're allowing to be in your life that can actually be a negative influence. When people are thinking negative most of the time, you're trying to get something accomplished from Yah, it's an actual hindrance because it's like a lack of faith. That's why Yahushua Mashiach couldn't do many miracles in certain places because of unbelief. He had to leave. We think everything, we're looking at Yahushua Mashiach not doing something because of unbelief, but then somebody saying they believe in him, you're saying, well, I thought you believe in Yah. Why can't you do it? Well, it's because of unbelief also with those individuals, and they're not as strong as him. Even the apostle said a messenger of houseofaryeh. Apostle Paul said a messenger of houseofaryeh was given unto me. So he approached Yah 3 times, but a messenger was given to him to buffet him, lest he be feeling exalted above measure. Yah used the actual messenger of houseofaryeh to buffet Paul. And we looking at this, well, how could Yah do this? Well, he sent the evil spirit to Saul like this, but Paul on this hand wasn't evil. He said, I created the wicked one for the evil day. But we have to get our mind out of this religious church mindset to a point of things, but we've been taught based on Roman Catholic type studies, and again, open our mind and realize that it's a spiritual world out here. We're out here not just walking around, like things are not just happening for nothing. Like, when you see things happen, it's a reason that they happen. And this is the thing. So I just gave you an example of Paul saying the messenger of houseofaryeh was given unto him, and they called that demon a messenger. They call it a messenger. So just like the angel, it's a messenger. Losing that state doesn't mean that they're not operating in that manner. And this is the way we have to look at this. Going back to Daniel, we go back to Daniel. I think Daniel about the 10th chapter when it talks about, the actual angel that came to him. He said, Daniel was fasting for 3 days. For 3 weeks, for 21 days. He said, from the first day that you began to pray and turn your face toward Yah, I heard you. He said, but the prince of Persia began to hinder me. He was hindered right then at that point in the realm up there above us in the actual heavenlies. Right there, he was hindered. He said, but the chief prince came to help me, which was Michael. All this activity is going on. Like, it wasn't just a situation where he was just fighting. He had to get Michael, and they call him the chief prince, but we actually refer to him as being an archangel. Michael, Gabriel, and then one text in the extra books, I think Tobit talks about, Raphael. And these are actual chief angels. These angels are able to handle things when they're on a hierarchy level. And so he said, but the chief prince came to help me out, and I was able to get to you. He was letting them know that the vision that you have is for an appointed time. At that particular point in time, Daniel had guys around him. But guess what the Ruach did? It knocked them out. It ran them away, basically. Say terror came upon them. It said great fear came upon them, so they began to, get out of the way. So they didn't even see what was going on. But Daniel had this vision. He said, I saw the vision, I alone. He was just letting them know right then that this vision is for an appointed time. But Daniel didn't go back telling those guys that was with him what the vision was, even though they were with Daniel. He didn't go back saying, I know y'all was scared and y'all ran, man, look and show y'all what happened. It wasn't nothing like that. Daniel held his integrity and did what the Most High told him to do. But we see that even though Daniel prayed, opposition still came, and Daniel was walking upright. So we can't just think that, that we're entitled. We are, supposed to get things, but you have to fight. This is a fight that you're in. Nothing just happens to you. And this is what we have to look at this. I was looking at how the school and how things operate now to where the No Child Left Behind and where they operate, everybody getting a prize type stuff. The word talks about he that run away is rented that he may obtain a prize. What's the reason for being in a race if you can't be, put in a position where you got the prize? Like, everybody gonna get an A? Like that. So it actually takes away the actually, desire to actually be a part of it when they do that. You know what I'm saying? Somebody that's excelling is like they're actually holding that person back because they're not going to let them shine harder. Like, some people have to go to advanced class. They're not supposed to be on that same playing field with the rest of them. Everybody shouldn't have an A. If you didn't pass, you failed. And that's what we have to look at. We shouldn't cheat the system to make everybody pass. That's what we have to look at this. That's another hindrance right there. We have a hindrance going on where you have your child that's sitting there and they're on an advanced level having to sit there and learn these things that are not advanced, and they need to be learning more so it can help them grow. And then you have the situation where your child don't know anything, and instead of them tutoring them, getting them in position, they're lying on the paperwork, giving them whatever they need to pass so it can make the school's numbers look good for the state. This is crazy. This is another hindrance right here. This is a hindrance in the system right here. We have this going on. We're sitting up thinking, okay, well, yeah, that school has a great record right there, but it don't. They just can't look bad on paper. You know what I'm saying? So they have to look at for certain grants and things. They have to actually just pass them. No Child Left Behind. It's actually a big hindrance. We can't have. That's why I thank y'all that our children in the homeschool. I just thank them so much because told y'all because we don't have to deal with all that a bunch of nonsense. Now we're getting in a position where they'll begin to just let the children they're going to begin to make the lesson in a little while. They can go into any bathroom they want to go in. All this stuff is hindrance, right? It's not letting your child have pride in who they are. like, sometimes people need help. It's like people been molested in certain things, and you're just pacifying and saying, okay, you've been molested, but you still go into the boy bathroom, even though you're a girl, or vice versa. No, they need to get help and need to be counseled based on whatever it is that actually happened to them. They need to revisit this situation, be delivered and set free from this, from this trouble that went on, saying this turmoil, saying that the child has been violated, but yet we give them, like a prize to say, okay, yeah, we're fine. You can be what you want to be. And it shouldn't be that way. And that's another hindrance right there. The system itself is a hindrance. The world system is a hindrance, but we're talking about just the school system alone is another hindrance all alone. The way it's set up is set up to actually dumb down, the children that are there and put them in a position to learn all this stuff about this false history and not let them learn about real life. They're not teaching them finances. They're not teaching them credit. They're not teaching them how to operate, in this actual matrix that we're in. And that's what we're looking at. So it's why anybody that's in position to pull from out of there, I recommend that you get them out of there, because it's just not a good thing in this day and time, because it's going to get worse. Even the more as we go, it's going to be to a point where later on down the line, they're probably going to, recommend that they be, that their body be violated with this stuff they got going on here with the shot, so you just have to be careful and just realize that, that when we're in position of, we have the advantage, mentally from Yah, we have to make sure that we don't allow anyone to put us in a position where they give us, an actual, a playing field that's not level. And that's what we do. When we set up ourselves for the kill, and we actually invite people in our life that are not supposed to be there just because we know them, or just because this is a loved one or something. Sometimes loved ones can't go on the journey. You may need to get to another level so you can actually bring that loved one up. But instead of you actually doing that, you're trying to feel bad, bringing them up as if you're doing something wrong. That's not how the Most High operates. Sometimes you have to go and get more knowledge, more information, get stronger into a certain avenue, and then go back and pull them up. You know what I'm saying? But you can't pull them up trying to be right there with them doing the same thing that they're doing. It's like trying to just overlook, what we call turning the blind eye and the deaf ear. You can't do that. When you operate in that manner, what happens is they don't begin to value the Yah that's inside of you. They don't begin to value the Ruach HaKodesh that's in you, because they say, well, you ain't no different than me. You're doing everything I'm doing. There has to be some standard that we hold. And you can't be ashamed of holding that standard. You can't be ashamed of not participating into the paganism and not going certain places because it's nothing wrong with it. What's right with it? There doesn't have to be, Hasatan doesn't have to be there for me to say, okay, it's an evil place. I mean, it's just the fact that the Most High said don't do it is enough for me. That's all I need. I don't have to be persuaded by you how it's nothing wrong with it. And this one we have to begin to stand on the knowledge that and information that the Most High has given us, that we're running this race that we may obtain the prize in the end, not the prize now sometime, because sometimes you're trying to get the prize now and it's not time. Sometimes the prize is for a later time after you begin to endure and begin to walk this walk. And the more you walk this walk, the more you'll realize that everybody's not going to be on the journey with you. Like that's one thing. Like we're trying to bring everybody on the immediate journey. Sometimes people don't even get on track. And sometimes they do, but it's not up to you to do it. The words say, Paul say, I watered and Apollos planted, or it can go vice versa, but it's Yah that gave the increase. Like we're trying to plant, water, and give the increase all in one breath. And that what makes us fall sometimes, trying to labor so hard to the point where we go against the will of Yah. And that's us. That's beginning to be, you're operating then as a controlling Ruach at that point to the individual. Yah doesn't control us. And we can't let people with religious spirits control us, and we can't control people. Yah gives us a choice to actually serve him or not serve him. And the reason why he does that, because in the end, if you go to hell, you went to hell. He didn't put you in hell. And it's the same thing with individuals. So we don't force, this is why you don't let people force you to do what they think you should be doing, because Yah didn't even do that. That makes them a religious spirit. Because they're operating in a form where they feel like they know more than what you should be doing than you do. And Yah is giving you the grace to make these choices. And we can't let people draw out our life for us and begin to have us going down the road that they want us to go down just to appease them. Sometimes the road may not look like the road that the people think you should be going down. And if it doesn't look like that to them, that's not your problem. The point is, are you sure that you're doing what Yah told you to do? And if you're sure that you're doing what he told you to do, then you have to be just like the racehorse. Just put them on right there and just look straight ahead. Don't look to the side. Don't look to the left or right, but look forward. and keep moving forward toward the prize and what the Most High got you moving to. That way you can be a greater help to others. Sometimes you harm individuals by getting on the playing field that they're on. When you're trying to be down or whatever, it's not about that. We have to be willing to let people go to do what y'all saying do. When I say let go, I'm not saying be mean to people. I'm saying when it gets to a point where I bump heads with you and you're trying to make me do your will, and I'm doing what y'all want me to do, at that point, it's an automatic thing. It's kind of like what's understood don't have to be said. It's obvious that we're going two different ways now. That we have to look at. It's not about being mean. It's like trying to be nice will put you in a position where you're going against the things of Yah, because Yah doesn't operate on trying to be nice. He operates on trying to be righteous. And that's what we're supposed to be doing. So when you're being righteous, sometimes it's being mean to people. It wasn't nice when Yahushua Mashiach whooped them out of the temple. He said, my father's house is a house of prayer. So he went in there and whooped them out with the cords because he wasn't going to let them have that kind of activity going on in the house of Yah. But that's mean based on what Christianity has told us. This is why I keep saying, don't mix me up with Christianity, because I'm not one. I'm the people of Yah. You know what I'm saying? I know Israel. That's it right there. Outside of that, you have to look at it and begin to see what you see as I begin to open my mouth and look back at the other videos and to give you a little bit more history on what I believe. But I don't believe that nice overrides righteousness. I don't believe that. That's what we have to look at when sometimes people's feelings have to get hurt. And if the person feeling is hurt, even for a season, if they're meant to be there, they'll come back around. But if they was not meant to be there, that's a good thing, because they was going to hinder you and you could have hindered them also. And that's what we have to look at. We have to actually have our hearts set to not be so dependent on the approval of individuals to the point where we don't do what Yah want us to do. Stop trying to get approval from man unless it's somebody that Yah sent in your life that you've already made an agreement to actually let shepherd over you or something. And even then, they have to give you the mind to actually say whether or not this is what Yah is telling you or not also. This is the thing, but it's not that you're trying to not give honor to them, but they're not supposed to control your life. This is the thing, and that's what we have to look at. Like, you're operating in a position where, and then we also have to realize another hindrance is that, once again, I keep talking about trying to do it alone. Even coming out of the walk and seeing the way the Roman Catholics are set up and the way the Christian church is set up now, the structure is still similar. They just took it and they actually began to twist it and infiltrate it with things that are not of Yah. But Hasatan moves in order. And that's the thing. And this is the thing. A lot of times people that are operating in the walk don't want to move in no order. They want to move alone, lonely, and move in a way where they're saying, okay, I'm just going to do my own thing. Well, that's actually Hasatan's playing field. You doing your own thing because you don't have any help. You don't have anybody to actually help you in the time of need. So at that point, he caught you all alone to a point where you can't stand alone. Sometimes you have to have someone else to fight the battle with you. This is why I say it's got to be the individual that Yah told you to connect with. And if it is, they're going to fight the battle with you. They're not going to be sitting there on the side trying to chat on every idea that the Most High give you, showing you why it's not going to work. And that's the thing. That's what we have going on. We have to make sure that we're in position, that we realize the order. We realize that, even the demons that I was telling y'all that went into the guy say our name allegiance, because it'd be many of us. They came in unity. This is the thing. We have to learn how to come in unity. We have to be done through the way that Yah wants us to do it. And this is the thing. Hasatan, he respects order. When he see order, he respects order and he respects authority. He respects. That's why the house needs to be set up the way Yah wants it set up. And if there's a house of Yah, it needs to be set up the way Yah wants it set up. When the enemy comes there and he see that order, it's too much for him to deal with. That's why I say one will chase 1,000 and two will put 10,000 to flight, because there's unity there. And most of the time when that unity is organized, it brings a great thing about. In the upper room, they were all on one accord and they were waiting on the same thing. They were waiting on the Ruach HaKodesh to come down upon them at that point. And so this is why that was accomplished. It was ordered there. And we can't also let hindrance or thinking we're going to be hindered put us in a place of fear. Just got to be in a place of surety, a place of assurance where you know that you're doing what Yah wants you to do and not doing what you think you're supposed to be doing or what somebody else told you to do. You have to make sure you're doing what Yah wants you to do, no matter how it looks, because they say better is the ending of a matter than the beginning. None of us started out right, but it's the fact that in the end that we end up on the right track. And sometimes the road getting there, it could be a little bumpy, but at the same time, as you get there, it begins to smooth out if you're inside of Yah. This is the thing. We already know the key things. One of my key things is just making sure I'm in the situation where as much as I can, I try to fast, praise and worship, begin to praise him, not just in the corporate setting, but in the setting of my own special time. Spend that quiet time with Yah, getting to know him, getting to an intimate place with him when I can actually begin to hear from him even the more, begin to, experience the presence of him. And this is the thing that we have to get back to. That's what's going to keep us, because it puts us in a position where we're not untouchable, but it's hard to get to us. It makes it hard for the enemy to get to us, because it's like he has to think twice before he come our way. Because remember, there's repercussion for him also when he attempts something and don't accomplish it. He doesn't just get away. The imps and stuff he got doesn't just get away with this stuff. It's like there's also repercussion. Anything there's a cause and effect. Excuse me. So if you do something, something happens. It's like that principle goes. It's an actual solid principle. What goes up must come down. That's the principle. So when someone goes out to accomplish a task, they don't get what they're supposed to get, and they don't accomplish what it would allow them to accomplish. That's just a normal principle. Like that, you fail the test, you flunk. The E is the actual evidence of you not accomplishing the goal. And so it's the same thing with the enemy. If he goes out to accomplish a goal, the sin is him, well, they actually have to be, dealt with by him. And this is the thing. This is information that's not, you ain't gonna find it in the Bible. I'm just letting you know, don't think that everything you don't see in the Bible is not happening, because you're not gonna see that demon come at you in the Bible. That's the thing. So we have to make sure that we keep our minds open and not be dumb to the world that's around us. With that being said, I'm gonna close out with prayer. Father y'all, we come to you right now in the name of Son Yahushua Mashiach. Just thank you right now that you watch over us, Father y'all. Father y'all, we thank you that in a time like this, Father y'all, in an hour like this, Father y'all, that you allow us not to operate in the Ruach of pride, Father y'all, but to realize that our help and our strength come from you. It's through you that we move and that we live and that we have our being, Father y'all. And Father y'all, once again, we come against all hindering Ruach, everything that tries to hinder us, Father y'all, everything that tries to stop, but to slow down the progress that you have set before us, Father y'all. And most of all, we just give you all the glory. We give you all the honor. We just esteem you right now. I just say unto him that sits on the throne and unto the Lamb of Yah, we just say thank you right now. We say Todah Yah for this day that you have made. We should continue to rejoice and be glad in it. In the name of your Son, Yahushua Mashiach, we pray. So be it.